The sky over Fort Jackson looked calm, but Maya Carter felt like she had stepped into a storm she couldn't see yet. The bus doors hissed open. One by one, recruits stepped down. Boots hit the ground, luggage followed, voices blended into nervous laughter and forced confidence. Maya was the last to move. For a moment she stayed seated. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her duffel bag like it was the only thing keeping her attached to reality. Inside that bag wasn't just clothes, it was everything she still had left of her old life. A faded photo of her mother sitting by a hospital bed. A small paper note with a phone number she already knew by heart. And a folded letter she never allowed herself to read all the way through because every time she tried, her chest felt like it was collapsing. "Miss," a voice snapped her out of it. The driver was watching her through the rearview mirror. Maya nodded quickly and stood up. "Sorry," she muttered, though no one was really waiting for apologies here. She stepped out. The moment her boots touched the ground, she felt it, like the world had changed temperature. Not colder, harder. The air smelled like wet concrete and distant fuel, the kind of place where time didn't feel slow or fast, just controlled. Around her, recruits were already forming loose groups. Some looked confident. Some looked terrified but tried to hide it. And some, like her, looked completely disconnected, as if they had not fully accepted where they were yet. Maya adjusted her grip on the bag again. She had joined the army 6 weeks after her mother's medical bills doubled. 3 months after her father stopped answering calls. And exactly 2 weeks after she realized that no matter how many shifts she worked at the diner, she could never fix what life had already broken. The recruiter had made it sound simple. Structure, benefits, a future. 3 words that had sounded like rescue. Now they felt like a question she hadn't understood properly. A sharp whistle cut through the air. Formation now. Everything changed instantly. People started moving faster, voices disappeared, chaos aligned itself into order. A man stepped forward. Drill sergeant uniform. Straight posture. Eyes that didn't blink like normal people blink. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't smile. He just looked at them like they were already behind. "Welcome to the United States Army," he shouted. His voice wasn't loud because he was angry. It was loud because he expected obedience. "You are no longer civilians. You are not students. You are not children of your families. From this moment on, you are nothing but recruits." Maya felt the words land in her chest like pressure. Not identity. Not individuality. Just recruits. The sergeant paced slowly in front of them. "You will be tired. You will be hungry. You will be humiliated. And you will either break." He stopped right in front of Maya. "Or become something you don't recognize anymore." She didn't look away. She didn't know why. Maybe pride. Maybe fear. Maybe both, refusing to lose at the same time. The sergeant moved on. Moved to barracks now. They walked. Not together. Not apart. Just processed. The barracks was large, cold, and too quiet for how many people were inside it. Rows of metal beds lined the room like a grid. No personal space. No comfort. No softness anywhere. Maya chose a bed near the middle, without thinking too much about it. Thinking too much didn't feel safe here. A girl across from her dropped her bag too hard and immediately froze, expecting punishment. Nothing happened. Yet. That yet hung in the air like a warning. Maya sat on her bed and looked around. This was it. No turning back. She slowly opened her bag again, just to make sure everything was still there. Her mother's photo was slightly bent at the corner. She fixed it gently with her thumb. A memory hit her without permission. Her mother's voice. Soft, weak, but still smiling. "You always think too much, Maya. Just breathe sometimes." Maya almost smiled. Almost. But the sound of boots outside shattered the moment. Heavy. Vast. Coming closer. The door slammed open. Everyone up. Lights turned on instantly. Too bright. Too sharp. Someone dropped off the bed in panic. "Move, move, move," the sergeant shouted. Maya was on her feet before her brain even fully woke up. Heart racing. Confusion everywhere. "You have 60 seconds to be outside in formation." People scrambled. Bags fell. Shoes were thrown on incorrectly. Maya grabbed her uniform pieces and dressed as fast as her shaking hands allowed. Everything felt rushed, like the world itself was punishing delay. Outside, the cold hit harder than before. They stood in formation. Some still adjusting clothes. Some breathing too heavily. The sergeant walked slowly in front of them. "First lesson," he said. "Comfort is over." A pause. Then louder. "Let's begin training." The first days blurred together. Wake up before sunrise. Run until lungs burned. Eat in silence with time limits. Learn commands that came too fast to think about. Left face. Right face. Drop and give me 20. Maya learned quickly that hesitation was treated like failure. And failure was not corrected gently. It was repeated. One afternoon, they were introduced to physical endurance training. It started simple. Push-ups, then planks, then carrying heavy gear across open fields. At first, Maya thought she could manage it. She was wrong. By midday, her arms shook so much she couldn't tell if she was still controlling them or just surviving their movement. "Don't stop," someone shouted behind her. She didn't know who anymore. Faces were becoming less important. Sounds were becoming sharper. Pain was becoming normal. That scared her more than the pain itself. During a short break, she sat under a tree. For 30 seconds, everything went quiet. Jessica sat beside her without asking. "You from somewhere far?" Jessica asked. "Ohio," Maya replied. "Family." Maya hesitated. "Not really anymore." Jessica nodded like she understood more than she said. "Same reason everyone's here," Jessica muttered, "running from something." Maya looked at her. "Are you running too?" Jessica gave a small laugh. "Yeah, just faster than it." That was the first real conversation Maya had since arriving. And it somehow felt heavier than the training. Weapons training came next. The moment everything changed again. The rifle was placed in front of her like an object that already had authority. "Handle it like your life depends on it," the instructor said. Maya believed him. At first she struggled. Parts didn't make sense. Movements didn't connect. She tried to focus, but her mind kept slipping. "Carter." Her name snapped her back. "You think this is a toy?" "No, sir." "Then act like it." Laughter from somewhere behind her. Heat rushed to her face. But she didn't break. Not outwardly. Instead, she forced her hands to slow down. Piece by piece. Step by step. Until finally click. The rifle was assembled. "Better," the instructor said, though not kindly. That night she didn't sleep much. Not because of fear anymore, but because her brain refused to shut off. Every command replayed. Every mistake repeated. Every second felt like preparation for something worse. And she had no idea what worse would actually look like yet. The last moment of part 1 came quietly. Maya sat on her bed late at night. Most recruits were asleep. The barracks was dim. Only the sound of breathing filled the room. She looked at her hands. They were already changing. Not stronger yet. Not weaker. Just different. Like they no longer belonged fully to her old life. She took out the photo of her mother again. Stared at it longer this time. And for the first time since arriving, she didn't feel like turning back. Not because she wasn't scared, but because somewhere deep inside, she understood something she didn't want to admit. There was no version of her old life waiting anymore. Only the version she would become next. She placed the photo back carefully, lay down, closed her eyes, and waited for morning. Because morning always came here. Whether you were ready or not. The alarm didn't just ring. It attacked. A sharp, mechanical sound that sliced through sleep like a blade, forcing every recruit in the barracks to wake up at the exact same moment. 04:30 a.m. Darkness still owned the world outside. But inside Fort Jackson, the day had already started. Move, move, move. Boots hit the floor instantly. No hesitation was allowed. Hesitation meant punishment, and punishment meant more exhaustion layered on top of exhaustion. Maya Carter rolled off her bed so fast her shoulder hit the metal frame. Pain flashed through her arm, but she ignored it. Everyone was moving too fast to care about pain. She grabbed her uniform and started dressing with shaking hands. Shirt wrong side. Fix it. Belt twisted. Fix it. Boots half-dyed. No time, just go. Outside, the air was colder than yesterday. The kind of cold that didn't just touch skin, it went inside it. Rows of recruits stood in formation, still adjusting themselves while trying not to get noticed. The drill sergeant walked in front of them slowly. Too slowly. That was the worst part. Because it meant he was watching everything. Yesterday you survived, he said. A pause. That doesn't mean anything today. Maya swallowed hard. Today, he continued, we find out who is useless. Silence followed the word. Useless. It didn't sound like an insult. It sounded like a label they might not be able to remove. The obstacle course begins. By mid-morning, they were already deep in physical training. The sky had turned gray again, like it was deciding whether to rain or not. Maya stood at the starting line of the obstacle course. This wasn't the simple kind of exercise anymore. This was designed to break rhythm, break confidence, break thinking. G.O. The whistle screamed, and everything exploded into motion. Maya ran. Mud instantly grabbed her boots like it had been waiting. The first obstacle came fast, a low crawl under barbed wire. DOWN. She dropped instantly. Cold mud hit her face. The smell of dirt, metal, and sweat filled her senses. She crawled forward. Slow. Controlled. Every movement scraping her uniform against the ground. Behind her, someone shouted in pain, boot caught, panic rising. But there was no time to look. If you looked back, you fell behind. If you fell behind, you were noticed. And being noticed here was never good. Maya reached the end of the crawl section, lungs burning. Move. She stood and ran again. Her legs already felt heavier than they should. The rope climb tower appeared ahead. Tall. Unforgiving. Waiting. UP the rope, the instructor shouted. Maya grabbed it. Her hands burned instantly. She pulled. One step. Then another. Her arms trembled. Halfway up, her grip slipped slightly. Her body jolted. She froze for a split second. That split second almost cost her everything. "Don't stop," Jessica shouted from below. Maya forced herself upward again. Pain shot through her fingers. She ignored it. 10 feet. 15. Her breathing turned chaotic. The top still felt far. Too far. Her muscles began shaking uncontrollably. And then, her mind did something dangerous. It started thinking. Home. Her mother's face. Hospital rooms. Bills stacked on a table. The moment she signed the enlistment papers. Everything came back at once. Her grip loosened. Her body stopped pulling. And she hung there. Not moving. Not falling. Just suspended between effort and failure. "Carter!" The shout cut through her thoughts. But she didn't react immediately. For the first time since arriving, her body didn't obey fast enough. Her fingers slipped. A sharp jolt. She fell. Not a long fall, but a heavy one. She hit the mud hard. Silence hit her mind harder. For a second, she just lay there, breathing, staring at nothing. The world didn't blur. It sharpened. Too sharp. Every sound felt distant but loud at the same time. Boots moving. Commands being shouted. Rain starting again lightly. "Get up." The voice was close. "Sergeant." Maya didn't move. "Carter," he said again, slower now. "Are you done already?" No answer. Jessica stepped forward slightly, but someone held her back. "Let her decide," the sergeant said coldly. Maya blinked. Her body hurt everywhere. Not dramatic pain. Just constant, everywhere pain. She pushed her palms into the mud. Slowly. Struggled. And rose. Not fast. Not clean. But she stood. Mud dripping from her uniform. Breathing uneven. Eyes locked forward. She didn't speak. She didn't explain. She just walked back to the start line. And got in position again. The sergeant watched her. Longer this time. Then finally. Again. The silent war inside her. By afternoon, exhaustion had changed shape. It wasn't just physical anymore. It was mental erosion. Repetition. Commands. Failure correction. Movement until thinking stopped working properly. Maya's body was still moving, but something inside her was slowing down. During a short break, she sat against a wall. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Jessica sat beside her again. "You're pushing too hard," Jessica said quietly. Maya didn't look at her. "If I slow down," Maya said, "I fall behind." Jessica exhaled. "No," she replied. "If you don't recover, you collapse." Maya didn't answer. Because she didn't know which one was worse. Weapons training pressure. That evening, they were taken to the training hall again. Rifles lined up. Cold metal. Heavy responsibility. "Today," the instructor said, "we see discipline under pressure." Maya picked up her weapon. Her hands were still not fully steady. "Disassemble it." She started. Wrong order. "Fix it." Too slow. "Fix it." "Carter," the instructor snapped. Her heart jumped. She tried again. This time faster. Pieces scattered slightly. Her frustration rose. Not anger. Pressure. Everyone was watching. She forced herself to breathe. Slow. In. Out. One piece. Then another. Click. Correct. Better, the instructor said, moving on. But Maya didn't feel better. She felt like she was being measured constantly. Like every mistake was a step backward she couldn't afford. The emotional crack. That night something changed. Not outside. Inside. Maya sat alone on her bed while most recruits rested. The barracks was quieter now. Not peaceful. Just tired. She took out her mother's photo again. This time her hands didn't shake as much. But her eyes did. She stared at it longer than before. And something inside her finally spoke, not in words but in realization. She was not the same person who arrived. Not even close. The girl who stepped off the bus had hope. Confusion. Fear. The girl sitting here had something different. Something harder. Something quieter. She didn't know if it was strength yet. Or just survival. Jessica walked by and noticed her. "You still holding on to that?" she asked gently. Maya nodded. Jessica didn't judge. Just said, "Good, don't lose who you came in as. Just don't let it stop you from becoming who you need to be." Maya looked at her. For a moment, something almost like understanding passed between them. Not friendship yet, but connection. Real enough to matter. The morning arrived earlier than usual, or maybe Maya was just running out of ways to tell time anymore. At Fort Jackson, days didn't feel like days. They felt like cycles of exhaustion stitched together with commands, repetition, and silence that only existed between shouting. But this morning felt different. There was tension in the air before the first whistle even sounded. Maya noticed it as soon as she stepped outside. The drill instructors weren't yelling yet. That alone was unsettling. Recruits stood in formation, unusually quiet, adjusting gear with slower hands than normal. Even Jessica wasn't making jokes today. Maya tightened her gloves. Something was coming. She could feel it. The unexpected briefing. "Fall in." The command hit like a hammer. Everyone snapped into formation. The commanding officer walked in, not the usual drill sergeant. This man was different. Cleaner uniform. Calmer posture. But heavier presence. He didn't pace. He stopped directly in front of them. "For the last several weeks," he said, "you have been training under controlled stress." A pause. "Today, we increase the pressure." Maya's stomach tightened slightly. Controlled stress meant nothing good outside those walls. The officer continued. "Some of you will be selected for advanced field simulation training." Whispers almost started, but stopped immediately when a drill instructor moved his head slightly. Silence returned instantly. "This is not optional," the officer said. "This is evaluation." Maya felt Jessica glance at her without turning her head. Evaluation. That word carried weight. Not punishment. Not training. Judgment. Selection moment. Names were called. One by one. Recruits stepped forward and moved to a separate line. Maya stood still. Waiting. Heart steady but alert. "Carter." She stepped forward. No hesitation. Jessica followed moments later. Ramirez. More names. Less familiar faces now. Maya realized something uncomfortable. The group being selected wasn't random. It was people who had survived breaking points without fully collapsing. People who didn't quit when they should have. People who didn't scream when pushed too far. People who simply kept going. That thought stayed with her. Field simulation begins. They were transported by trucks. No windows inside the transport area. Only vibration. Metal shaking. Gear clinking. No one spoke. Maya sat opposite Jessica. Jessica leaned slightly forward. "You think this is combat training?" she asked quietly. Maya shook her head. No, she said. This feels like something before that. Jessica nodded slowly. Yeah, like they're checking if we're worth sending closer to it. That word again. It. Not war. Not mission. Just it. The truck stopped. Doors opened. Cold air rushed in. They stepped out. And everything changed. The simulation zone. The area looked like a destroyed town built for training. Broken structures. Smoke machines in the distance. Flashing lights that simulated distant explosions. It wasn't real. But it wasn't comforting either. Welcome to field evaluation, a voice announced over speakers. Rules are simple, complete objectives. Survive pressure, do not hesitate. Maya adjusted her helmet. Her heartbeat slowed instead of speeding up. That was new. Instead of panic, the focus was arriving. First objective, movement under fire simulation. A loud sound exploded. Bang! Maya instinctively dropped to the ground. Jessica did too. Move, shouted an instructor. They crawled forward through debris-covered ground. Lights flashed red and white, simulating gunfire. It wasn't real bullets. But the body didn't always understand that. Maya's instincts were kicking in now. Not fear. Training. Crawl. Move. Cover. Advance. Jessica stayed close. You're fast, Jessica shouted over noise. You're slow, Maya replied without thinking. A faint laugh broke through Jessica's tension. Even here. Even now. Pressure test, team collapse scenario. Halfway through the simulation, something changed. One recruit in their group fell according to the system. An instructor shouted. Casualty simulation. That recruit had to be carried. Immediately. No discussion. No delay. Maya and Jessica grabbed the person's gear. Heavy. Unbalanced. Dragging slowed everything. Speed matters, the instructor shouted. Maya adjusted grip. They moved again. But now everything felt heavier, not just physically. Responsibility changed the pace. Maya realized something sharp. In real situations, you don't just carry your own survival. You carry others too. Emotional crack in motion. During a pause behind a broken wall, Jessica leaned in. You okay? She asked. Maya didn't answer immediately. She was breathing heavily. Not exhaustion. Processing. I don't think this is about training anymore, Maya finally said. Jessica nodded. It hasn't been for a while. A silence. Then Jessica added. They're not teaching us how to follow orders. Maya looked at her. Jessica continued. They're teaching us how not to freeze when everything goes wrong. That sentence stayed. Second phase, isolation drill. Suddenly, teams were separated. Maya found herself alone. No Jessica. No group. Just her. Proceed to checkpoint B, a voice instructed through her headset. Static. Maya moved forward. The environment felt quieter now. Too quiet. This was worse than noise. Silence in training usually meant something was being tested internally. She advanced through a narrow corridor. Walls broken. Wind moving dust. Then, a sudden sound behind her. She turned instantly. Nothing. But her body was already reacting. This was new. Not instruction-based reaction. Instinct-based reaction. She moved faster. Corner to corner. Cover to cover. Breathing controlled. Her mind shifted. Less thinking. More doing. The moment of real pressure simulation. A sudden alarm sounded. Time-critical event. Lights turned red. Smoke filled the area. Maya's headset crackled. Objective changed. Extraction under time constraint. Her heart rate rose slightly, but not into panic. Into focus. She moved. Faster now. Her boots hit debris. Her hands touched cold walls. She checked corners without hesitation. Something inside her clicked. This was no longer training thinking. This was survival thinking. And she didn't like how natural it felt. Jessica's return. At the extraction point, Maya arrived first. Jessica was already there. Breathing hard. Smiling slightly. Still faster, Jessica said. Maya gave a small nod. Barely. The instructor's voice came through. Evaluation complete. Silence followed. Then, return to base. No celebration. No confirmation. Just ending. The return journey. Inside the transport back, no one spoke again. But something had changed. Not visible. Not spoken. But felt. Maya looked at her hands. They weren't shaking anymore. Not from exhaustion. Not from fear. From something else. Adaptation. Jessica leaned back. You know what scares me, she said quietly. Maya didn't respond immediately. What, she asked. Jessica looked forward. How easy it's starting to feel. That sentence hit harder than any command. Because Maya realized it was true. The silence before deployment was different. It wasn't the quiet of rest. It was the quiet of waiting for something you can't undo once it arrives. Maya Carter noticed it the moment she woke up. No shouting. No alarms. No rushing boots across the barracks. Just stillness. Too much stillness. She sat up slowly on her bed, her hands resting on her knees. For a second she didn't move. Neither did anyone else. Even Jessica was awake already, sitting across the room, tightening her gear in silence. Maya knew immediately. This was the day. The final briefing. They were gathered in a secured hall. The atmosphere felt heavier than any training day. A screen flickered behind the commanding officers. No motivational speeches. No long explanations. Just facts. A map. A location marked in red. And movement routes drawn in cold lines. The officer stepped forward. This is a real-world operational support mission. No one reacted outwardly. But everything inside the room changed at once. Your unit will assist in securing an unstable zone and supporting evacuation efforts. A pause. This is not simulation. Those words didn't need repetition. They landed fully the first time. Maya felt something tighten in her chest, but she didn't panic. She had trained past panic. Now there was only awareness. Jessica glanced at her. Maya nodded slightly. Not ready, but steady. Movement to the zone. The convoy moved at dawn. This time, the environment outside wasn't training grounds. It was distance. Real terrain. Real sky. Real uncertainty. Inside the vehicle, no one spoke. The hum of wheels on rough ground filled the silence. Maya stared at her gloves. She flexed her fingers once. Then again. Jessica leaned slightly closer. You ever wonder what happens after this? She asked quietly. Maya didn't answer immediately. I try not to think past it, she said finally. Jessica nodded. Yeah, thinking too far gets you stuck. Another silence. But this one was different. Not empty. Full of awareness. Arrival. The convoy stopped behind a line of damaged structures. Dust hung in the air. The world ahead looked fractured. Not cinematic. Not heroic. Just broken in real ways. Commanders gave final instructions quickly. Stay in formation. Communicate. Do not break protocol under stress. Then, the order came. Move. First contact with reality. They advanced cautiously. This wasn't simulated sound. This was real noise. Distant impacts. Unstable structures shifting. People shouting in the distance. Maya's heartbeat stayed controlled, but sharper now. Every step mattered. Jessica stayed close. Stay right, Maya said quietly. I'm with you, Jessica replied. They moved through narrow pathways between damaged buildings. Everything felt unpredictable. Then, a sudden shout from ahead. A group of civilians appeared at a distance, moving quickly. Confused. Scared. The unit immediately shifted direction. Evac route, someone ordered. Maya's pace adjusted instantly. No hesitation. No delay. Just action. The collapse point. Then it happened. A loud explosion, not directly near them but close enough to shake everything. The ground trembled. Dust filled the air. Maya dropped instinctively behind cover. Jessica did the same. Hold position, a voice shouted. For a moment, everything blurred. Noise. Movement. Confusion. And then, silence returned in waves. Maya looked up. Her breathing was controlled, but something inside her had changed. This wasn't training anymore. The body didn't care what label it had. It only responded. Jessica looked at her. You okay? She asked quickly. Maya nodded once. Yes. But her voice wasn't the same anymore. It had weight now. The first decision that mattered. A radio crackled. Medical support needed at North Sector. A pause. Then, volunteers required for assist extraction. Silence in the unit. No one moved immediately. Because everyone understood what that meant. Maya stepped forward first. Jessica followed instantly. 2 more recruits joined. No discussion. No hesitation. The team split. They moved. The extraction zone. The area was unstable. Structures partially collapsed. Dust thick in the air. Visibility low. They found the injured group near a damaged wall. Civilians. Confused. Breathing heavily. One instructor quickly assessed. Clear path, we move them now. Maya crouched beside one injured person. Her hands moved carefully. Not fast. Not slow. Precise. Jessica assisted on the other side. On 3, Maya said. They lifted. The weight was real. Heavier than training loads. Not just physically. Emotionally. They moved. Step by step. Through unstable ground. Every sound felt louder. Every second felt longer. The critical moment. Halfway through extraction. Another tremor. Dust fell from above. A warning crack echoed through the structure nearby. Move faster, someone shouted. Maya adjusted grip. Jessica slipped slightly but recovered. Keep going, Maya said. Her voice was steady. Stronger now. Not fearless. Focused. They reached safer ground. Placed the injured group down. Medics rushed in. For a moment, stillness returned. After the chaos, Maya stepped back slowly. Her hands were covered in dust. Her breathing was controlled but deep. Jessica stood beside her. Neither spoke for a moment. Then Jessica finally said, "That wasn't training." Maya nodded. "No," she replied quietly. "It was." A pause. Then Jessica added, "But you didn't freeze." Maya looked at her hands. For the first time, she noticed something different. They weren't shaking. Not anymore. The emotional shift. Later, after the operation stabilized, they regrouped. The unit stood in formation again. But everything felt changed. The commanding officer walked past them. He stopped briefly in front of Maya. Looked at her. Didn't speak. Then moved on. That silence said more than words. Jessica leaned slightly. "You know what you are now?" she asked. Maya didn't answer immediately. She already knew. But hearing it mattered. Jessica said it anyway. "A soldier." Maya exhaled slowly. Not relief. Not pride. Understanding. Final scene, night after deployment. That night back at base, everything was quiet again. But this quiet was different from before. Not uncertainty. Not waiting. Just completion of something. Maya sat outside alone for a while, looking at the dark sky. Jessica joined her later, sitting beside her without asking. Neither spoke for a long time. Finally, Maya said, "I thought becoming strong would feel different." Jessica smiled faintly. "It does." Maya looked at her. "How?" Jessica leaned back. "First it hurts." A pause. "Then it becomes normal." Another pause. "Then you don't notice it anymore." Maya looked forward again. That made sense. Too much sense. She held her mother's photo once more. Not as something fragile anymore, but as something grounding. A reminder of where she came from. Not where she stayed. She slipped it back carefully. And for the first time since this journey began, she didn't feel lost between two lives. She felt like she had crossed from one into another. Final line, end of story. The soldier she had become wasn't built in a moment. She was built in silence, in pressure, in breaking points she didn't see coming, and in choices she never had time to fear.